Hi, welcome to Book Chat. My name is Bia Stengo, and I'm a managing librarian at Monterey County Free Libraries. And today I wanted to talk to you about a book called Domestic Work by Natasha Trethewey. Natasha Trethewey is a Black poet and a professor, and she has been the Poet Laureate of the United States, I believe more than once. And this book is a book of her poetry. And she is really an amazing poet, and this book was very interesting to read. What she looks at is the working and labor class of Black people through history, and partially through photographs. So some of her poems are listed with dates on them to show the photograph that the inspiration for the poem was taken from, or the date of the photograph that the inspiration was taken from. And so it gives you a snapshot, a glimpse into the history of Black people as domestic workers and laborers in the United States, and thus the title of the poem, of the book, Domestic Work. And it's really a very amazing, very thought-provoking work of a book, a collection of poems, because it really does give you insight into the history. And so I'm going to read this book, and this poem, and this particular poem is actually more autobiographical, but I think it's also very telling of the historical significance of the poems in the book. And so this particular poem is called History Lesson. I am 4 in this photograph, standing on a wide strip of Mississippi beach, my hands on the flowered hips of a bright bikini. My toes dig in, curl around wet sand. The sun cuts the ripping gulf in flashes with each tidal rush. Minnows dart at my feet, glinting like switchblades. I am alone, except for my grandmother, other side of the camera, telling me how to pose. It is 1970. 2 years after they opened the rest of this beach to us. 40 years since the photograph where she stood on the narrow plot of sand marked colored, smiling, her hands on the flowered hips of a cotton meal sack dress. So that's History Lesson. That describes her standing in the same pose as her grandmother 40 years prior, where she's wearing a flower sack dress, a cotton meal sack dress. And it's very powerful and very interesting to look at that perspective. So many of these poems in this collection really speak out loud and clear of the history of race in our country. And so that makes this book absolutely worth reading. So I encourage you to check it out from our library. It's called Domestic Work by Natasha Trethewey, who has been more than once the Poet Laureate of the United States. And the introduction of this book is given by Rita Dove, who was also a Poet Laureate in the United States. And it's a really thought-provoking, inspiring, deep look at our historical path in the United States. So thanks for listening, and I hope you check it out. Thank you. See you next time.